part of this operation, this United Nations operation, I believe it's called Neon, Operation Neon, which involves monitoring North Korea for sanctions violations. And we've sent a Aurora, one of our big Auroras over there, with a rotating crew to take part in this operation. And it's the only thing really that we're doing as part of that. And basically, we're on the turf of this, in that area of the South China Sea. And China is apparently not really happy about this whole operation. And they've been buzzing our pilots, this aircraft, I should say. Oh, by the way, this is Bert, my cat. He's helping me out here, but he's going to take a better position here. Anyway, he's obviously not impressed with my discussion. But anyway, yeah. So they're buzzing us. They're giving us the finger, not treating us with any respect. It's terrible. I mean, it's just. I mean, we've got this big lumbering old 30-plus-year-old. I mean, these things came in when Pierre Trudeau was still around, and back in the 80s, for God's sake. We should have replaced them, but instead we upgraded them, kept them. And so anyway, we got this one aircraft there, and the Chinese, apparently, according to one media report, which probably a lot of people saw, was that they're coming as close as 10 feet away from our aircraft, between 10 and 100 feet. And this has happened dozens of times since Christmas. But the only reason the Canadian government and Trudeau have said anything is because it was reported. We've been tolerating it all along since Christmas. I can't remember, dozens of interceptions, and some of them dangerous. And of course, the Trudeau government say this is, very concerning, and so on. And we've sent messages of disapproval to the Chinese, and they haven't even responded. Diplomatic messages of concern, but I mean, they obviously don't give a damn, and they know they can get away with it, and we're not going to do anything because, our prime minister basically has no backbone. We're not going to really do anything, and to be honest, I don't even know why we're there. It's a token effort. I mean, that aircraft should be guarding the Arctic and our shores. It's why are we even there? I mean, and they don't even want us there, which was part of the argument I was making in the article, was that we've sort of become the odd man out when it comes to Asia Pacific deals and agreements. We've been left out, and we've lost a lot of luster, cachet on the international scene.
Well, that's it. And I mean, on the whole international, not just the Asia Pacific area. And this is something we've seen for a while. I mean, Canada used to sort of punch above its weight diplomatically and militarily. I mean, we were respected peacekeepers. Of course, we certainly put our part in during the big wars, and did a lot of peacekeeping and had some strong diplomatic presence on the world stage. But unfortunately, again, I lay a lot of it. I mean, this has gone on for a long time. Some of these planes, I mean, there's past governments that could have upgraded or replaced these as well. But when it comes to respect on the world stage, I mean, you always see those pictures of any world gatherings. Aside from the selfies and showing off the socks, when you see the serious leaders clustered and talking about things, Trudeau is literally always on the outside looking in. They don't have any time for him.
No, I think they kind of sense he's, to put it nicely, a lightweight. He's kind of a lightweight. And they realize that this guy is just, he's just, not quite all there. And they left us out of AUKUS, which is the Australia, UK, United States submarine deal, which is a huge deal, multi-billion-dollar deal. It totally took Ottawa by surprise. Ottawa had no idea that this was happening, and they were clearly embarrassed by it, and they played it down. And then just a few months later, we got left out of another AUKUS deal. AU, that's AUKAS. It's kind of an odd named grouping. But again, the same group has signed a deal to create the latest in hypersonic missiles. And that technology is just very valuable. And again, we were left out of that. And then Strike 3, the Quad summit in Tokyo, which included Australia, the United States, Japan, and India. And India, for God's sake, has not even joined us in condemning what Russia is doing in Ukraine. We need them. I mean, obviously, that grouping needs India. India is a huge, a foremost economy, and it's growing quickly, and they're adding a lot of military equipment, and they're a valuable customer for the United States. But again, 1, 2, 3, and as the old surveillance intelligence axiom goes, once you can excuse, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is not coincidence. We are definitely being left out. We are the odd man out. They don't trust us. They don't trust us. And why would they?
And it's unfortunate. I mean, that kind of crosses over to the economic as well. I mean, as you said, India is really an emerging power in the world in a number of levels, and an economic powerhouse. I mean, we really want to do some trade with those guys. I mean, it's a fantastic market, bilaterally. But I mean, nobody can forget Trudeau's disastrous Indian trip. I mean, he embarrassed our nation over there. And Modi didn't even greet him at the airport when he would greet even typically a junior minister if they showed up. He was always a very welcoming host, and that's distressing. I mean, that's personal, and we should be paying attention to this.
Yeah, for some reason, I mean, Trudeau just this, that whole Ottawa trip was just an absolute disaster, and maybe that reverberated around diplomatic circles, and it probably hurt us. And again, our reputation invoking the emergency measures when it wasn't necessary hurt our reputation abroad. And I think it's a cumulative thing. It's a cumulative thing. And I just have to laugh when I see the foreign affairs minister, Jolie, I think her name is, saying, "Oh, we're very concerned about this, and we're going to say something." Well, I mean, come on, they're buzzing us, they're treating us with no respect, they're giving us the finger, for God's sake.
Well, and putting other pilots
in. We don't have any F-18s to defend our boys. It's too far away. It's too far away. We don't, we can't, So those guys are just going to have to sit there and take it, right?
Yeah, and it's got to be humiliating for the military. I mean, for the members serving, and they got a tough job as it is. And as I said, it's dangerous. I mean, I am no expert. When you get planes within 10 feet of each other, though, no matter how skilled both pilots may be, I mean, a terrible accident could happen. And, this shouldn't be taken lightly. But I mean, I can envision, with Canada, we're not a militarized country, and we don't have a large force, and that's fine. But you would think in that sort of situation, then you'd want a smaller but high-tech and up-to-date specialized force then. I mean, what we have is a small force that's all trying to work with antiques. I mean, their sidearms are World War II era, for crying out loud, and the government can't even figure out how to replace those.
Well, and that's a very good point. All our military equipment is old and outdated. Our destroyers, for example, can't go into ice-filled waters. They can't. Their hulls can't handle it. And our auroras are old. And yes, the government has put in $252 million towards Arctic and NORAD, security, but that's a drop in the bucket. That's nothing, and we are so far behind on that. We simply cannot defend our north. I mean, even the Rangers are not trained. I found out that the Rangers are not trained in tactical, training. I was so shocked to find that out, that they're. I mean, our troops, our armed forces are world class. Our pilots are world class. We stack up against the best in the world. Absolutely, no question. And yet we're not supporting them. And it's always been like that, and especially the Liberals. The Liberals have always been just, They hate to give any money to the military, and we need these new aircraft to replace, the Auroras, the Poseidon, which is basically a 737 converted into a surveillance long range maritime surveillance aircraft, which with multiple capabilities. And only now, April 1 was the deadline for information to submit against, in the competition. But the Poseidon pretty much will probably be the one we choose, because there's hundreds of offsets, hundreds of industrial offsets, which our economy needs. And also, getting back to the Quad Summit and also AUKUS, those countries, Australia, UK, all these countries have set up all these high-tech sectors for technology, which will benefit all those countries. India, Japan, it'll benefit all of them. High-tech sectors, and we are being left out of it, which is just terrible. And on the heels of Mr. Morneau's comments yesterday about how Canada is losing its competition, we're technologically and our economical competition, we're falling by the wayside. And this is and I think he's right. I think he's totally right. And I never liked Morneau. I never did. But on this one, I think he's right. And we are falling behind, and we have a lot to catch up on. We haven't even signed the F-35 deal. That deal is going to be signed we're still negotiating that for 88 jets, supposed to be signed in the fall. We still haven't. And there are like 14 countries that are already ordered it and flying it. We are the last, we're the laggard. We're always the laggard. And I just don't understand why we don't think that's important. Do we always just depend on the Americans, the American defensive umbrella? Don't we? I mean, are we not, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, and it's frustrating, especially with a country as large as ours and with as much border to have to deal with, and the potential insecurity we have in a lot of ways.
Yes.
As I said, even if we could have enough out there that we command respect, it translates to more than military. I mean, when you have these foreign summits, trade deals can be arranged, or other bilateral actions. So when your prime minister is shut out by every serious leader in the world, you just can't make those bigger deals. It costs us on a lot more levels than just militarily, and people don't realize that.
It's a major setback. These are major setbacks, and we should have jumped into the F-35 sooner. I mean, there's the whole question of interoperability with our allies is super important. I mean, all you got to do is look at what's happening in Ukraine. Is Putin going to turn his eyes on the Arctic? What's he going to do next? We got to jump on it before it gets out of hand. And I like I say, the 252 million is just a drop in the bucket. That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. But it's what what the Liberal government is ready to do. That's it.
See what happens, I guess. Speaking of international trade, though, before I let you go, so I hear you're going to be making quite a trip to a pretty unique show in Paris pretty soon.
Yes. I'm going to a show called Euro Satori, and it's the biggest arms show in the world. And they haven't had one for 2 years because of COVID, but they're relaunching it this year. And I'm really looking forward to it. Everybody except the Russians will be there. I understand a few companies from China will also be there, but not very many. And it's because of COVID, this COVID situation in China. It's nothing to do with Ukraine, but the Russians will not be allowed. But everybody else will be. And it is a massive, massive show with all the latest weaponry, drones, helicopters, tanks, you name it. It's going to be there. And I'm really excited to see this. And I hope to maybe we can do a segment from Paris for your show. Hopefully we can tell the listeners here what your story is about, and some of the cool things that are happening in that world of the military industrial world.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping we can set something up. It sounds like it'll be
Yeah.
very interesting for sure. I mean, if not, I'm going to try and get you while you're there, and if not, we'll talk when you get back. But it's good to know there will be at least one responsible Canadian presence at the show, if nobody else.
I'll be there. I'll hold the fort.
Right on. Okay, well, thanks for checking in, and thanks for keeping us up to date on these things with those columns, Dave. And
Okay.
I hope we didn't distress your cat too much this time around. And
Okay. And one more thing. Go see Top Gun. It's fabulous. It's
the new one.
It's fabulous. I've never seen anything like it. Go see it, and go see it on the IMAX. It's fabulous.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. I got to admit, I'm usually pretty leery of sequels, especially that far after, but sometimes they can do a good one, so I appreciate the heads up on it.
Okay.
Right on. Good talking to Dave.
Okay, take care.